If you watched my last video, you already know we covered the three most important universal laws: the law of correspondence, the law of divine oneness, and the law of vibration. Now, these three laws set a foundation to better understand the spiritual traditions of manifestations and personal growth. We're going to build off that foundation today. We are going to discuss the other 9 universal laws. While many of these laws are widely discussed in metaphysical and spiritual teachings, different traditions describe them in different ways. So, whether you see them as a spiritual truth or simply a powerful principle for living intentionally, they can offer a meaningful framework for self reflection. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Elizabeth Rory. I'm a spiritual coach and a manifestation mentor. My goal for you today is by the end of this video, you are able to better understand the 12 universal laws and be able to apply them in your everyday life. So if you're ready, let's just jump right in. Let's begin with the most popular universal law, the law of attraction. While the law of attraction is the most spoke about universal law, it's also the most misunderstood. People truly believe that if you think positive thoughts, you're going to get an amazing magical outcome. In reality, it's a bit more complex than that. The law of attraction is often described as the idea that your dominant thoughts, emotions, and focus influence what you notice, the opportunities you take, and how you respond to life in general. It doesn't promise you a specific outcome. And it doesn't say that challenges will not come in your life, but what it does do is it reminds us that our mindset affects the choices we make on a daily basis. For example, if you're consistently telling yourself, nothing works out for me, you may stop taking chances and miss every opportunity that enters your path. Or you may attract more experiences that make you feel like you are not good enough or it's not working out for you. On the other hand, if you begin telling yourself, I can learn from this, everything is working out for me, or new opportunities are always available for me, you're going to naturally start to become more aware of doors opening around you. And you're going to be more willing to take action. So how do we apply the law of attraction in our everyday life? Here's how. Start by paying attention to your inner dialogue. Ask yourself these questions. What story am I telling myself every day? Is this story holding me back? Would I speak to somebody I love the way I speak to myself? Then begin replacing these limiting beliefs with empowering ones. For example, instead of saying, I'll never find love, try replacing it with something like this. I'm becoming the version of myself who is ready for a healthy, loving relationship. Now, these small little shifts will create big, big, big changes. The law of inspired action. Visualization is powerful. Affirmations are powerful. Journaling is powerful. Setting intentions are powerful, but none of them replace this one thing: taking action. The law of inspired action reminds us that we have to participate in the life we are trying to create. For example, if somebody wants to manifest writing a book, or they think about writing a book all the time, they can envision it, they create dream boards, they could smell it, they journal about it. But eventually, this person's gonna have to sit down and write the book. Inspired action isn't always that dramatic. Okay, so it can actually be something that you've been avoiding, something you've been putting off, like a phone call or applying for a job or sending an email or even having a difficult conversation. Growth happens when inspiration meets action. How do we apply this to our everyday life? Here is how. Every morning, ask yourself this one question: what can I do today that will get me one step closer to the life I want? Not 10 things, just one. Consistency beats intensity every single time. Consistency is key. Now, something I want to throw in here, it's so important, and it'll make you feel maybe a little bit more comfortable about actually taking one step. One single step in the right direction is worth over 100 years of sitting around thinking about it. Just take one little step in the right direction. Those baby steps will actually make up a huge step. It'll take you further than if you don't step at all. Take the step. The law of perpetual transmutation of energy. Everything changes. Your emotions change, your circumstances change, your habits change, you change. This law teaches us that nothing is permanent forever. One of the biggest mistakes that people make is that this temporary feeling that they feel is a permanent identity. This is not true. Nothing is forever. Something I really stress with my clients is that whatever they're feeling right now, it's just a temporary space that they're in. It's not their forever place. So these situations that you're in and you feel like maybe this could be your forever, please remember that you're in this situation to learn and grow. And once you learn that lesson, the space you're in passes. You're no longer in that space anymore. So instead of saying, I am anxious, try saying something like, I am experiencing anxiety, or I'm such a failure. Say something along the lines of, I'm experiencing a setback. So those words matter because they remind you that your current circumstances are not definite and they do not define who you are. Remember, nothing is forever. Everything is temporary. So how do we apply this in our everyday life? Here's how. Next time you're having a difficult day, I want you to ask yourself, what's one thing I can do to shift my energy in a better direction? It may be going for a walk, talking to a friend on the phone, meditating, journaling, spending time in nature. Whatever it is, these small shifts will eventually create lasting transformation. The law of cause and effect. Every choice creates a ripple effect. Some choices in life are small, while others are so large they completely shift the direction of your entire life. The people you spend time with, the books you read, the shows you watch, the habits you repeat, the conversations we have, everything matters. The life you're living today, in many, many, many ways, is a reflection of the billions of choices you've made in the past. So how do we apply it in our everyday life? Here is how. Instead of asking, why isn't my life changing? Try asking, what habits can I work on today? So these small habits repetitively will eventually create extraordinary results. The law of compensation. Now, I love this one, although a lot of my clients really needed to learn this one because it requires patience. One of the hardest lessons to accept is that the effort and results don't always happen at the same time. It's not an instant gratification. We live in a society that expects this instant gratification, right? And nature does not work over that way. Trees do not grow overnight. A seed doesn't bloom the next day after it's been planted. So the same is true about personal growth. Sometimes your biggest breakthroughs are happening beneath the surface before you can even see them. So what I love to describe is this. Okay, so you plant a seed in the ground. You don't go digging it up every single day to see if it's growing, do you? No, you just trust and believe that it's growing, that it's going to be growing, even if you can't see it. Remember, everything starts underground and then brings its way up. It's exactly what's happening in your life. So how do we apply this to every day? Here's how. We first stop measuring success only by what we receive. Measure it by who you are becoming. That is huge. Celebrate your consistency. Celebrate yourself. Celebrate showing up. Celebrate learning. Celebrate the small improvements you make on a daily basis. The harvest comes after the planting. Remember that. The harvest comes after the planting. The law of relativity. The comparison aspect in life ruins everything. The law of relativity reminds us that every single person is walking a different path. You rarely see somebody's struggles. You only usually see their highlights. For social media, for example, most people are only going to post the great things that happen to them. They're always happy. They're always done up. They always look so fantastic. Yeah, because 99.9% of the people are not really going to share their struggles. But 100% of people are struggling. Okay? So that comparison will literally drain your soul. Instead of comparing your chapter 20 to somebody else's chapter 20, compare yourself with who you were yesterday. I do this sometimes. I'll go back in my journals and see how I was thinking, who I was spending time with a year ago, the exact date. And this allows me to see, have I been growing as a person? Did I take some steps back? Do I need to make some adjustments? I don't compare to anybody else. It's a waste of my time. This doesn't work. I compare myself to myself. So how do we apply this in our everyday life? Here's how. The next time you catch yourself comparing your life to somebody else, stop, pause, and think. What progress have I made that I haven't given myself credit for? We are the hardest on ourselves, and it is time that we give ourselves the love, space, and grace we absolutely deserve. You'll probably realize you've grown so much more than you can even realize when you start to look back at your life a year from where you're at now. So today, if you would like to track your progress, put the date down on a piece of paper and write down everything about your life, how you are, what your health is like, your weight, whatever it is, your goals, your job, your boyfriend, your girlfriend. And then a year from now, 2 weeks from now, a month from now, however time, give yourself some time. Look back and measure the growth, how far you've come. It's amazing when you start comparing yourself to your past self instead of other people. Please stop comparing yourself to other people. It's not going to do you any good. Law of polarity. Everything has an opposite. Light to dark, success to failure, joy to sadness, courage to fear. Everything has an opposite. You know, many of life's lessons come from experiencing both. Think about the strongest people you know. They are the strongest people because they have experienced, faced, and dealt with hardship, not because they tried to avoid it. Personally, I'm often called a very strong soul, and I know that I am, but I have gone through the hardest times I would never wish on anybody. I mean, let alone 11 of my best friends died tragically at different times. 11. That doesn't even top, right? So I've gone through some serious hardships, but I didn't try to avoid it. I went through it. We went through it because you go through it and you learn from it. Sometimes very hard challenges you're facing today becomes the wisdom you get to share in the future. Hello. It's exactly why I'm here today. If it wasn't for all of the difficult situations I've gone through, I don't know if I would be sitting here teaching all of you this important universal law. So how do we apply this to our everyday life? Here is how. Whenever you're going through something difficult, please ask yourself this. What lesson is this experience trying to teach me? Remember, you guys, every situation you're in is a lesson you must learn. And if you do not learn, that lesson is going to repeat itself until you do. That one question will and can completely change your entire perspective. Again, if you're in a hard place and you are thinking like, I'm never going to get out of this, this is so hard, which is totally normal. I want you to feel your feelings, but understand that you're in this situation to learn a lesson. The law of rhythm. Everything in life goes through cycles. The seasons change, the tides rise and fall, the day becomes night. Our lives also go through seasons. There's a season for building, a season for healing, a season for learning, a season for resting, a season for growing, and a season for starting over. Too often we think we should be consistently productive, but even nature resets. It is okay to slow down, take a break, and to reset. It is so important to do all of those. We get so caught up in this rat race that we lose ourselves. We overwork. We give too much. We lose the authenticity of ourselves. Give yourself the love, space, and grace you absolutely deserve. I'm consistently reminding people to give themselves space and grace. I'm going to now remind people to give themselves more rest as well. So how do we incorporate this in our everyday life? Here is how. Honor the season you are currently in. If you're healing, heal. If you are growing, grow. If you are resting, please rest without guilt. Embrace the space and season you are currently in. Remember, nothing is forever. This is just a temporary space you're in. Sometimes rest is exactly what is preparing you for your biggest breakthrough. Sometimes the universe will reward us when we just do nothing. Do less, receive more. How to apply this to your everyday life? Well, here is how. Ask yourself these questions. Do I need to take more action? Or do I need to slow down, trust, and listen? Sometimes growth requires movement, and sometimes it requires stillness. Learning the difference between the two is wisdom. The law of gender. Now, this law is one of the most misunderstood laws. It's not primarily about male or female. It's primarily about the complementary energies that exist within every single person. The masculine and the feminine. The masculine energy is often associated with action, structure, discipline, and logic, while the feminine energy is often associated with intuition, creativity, compassion, and nurturing. That makes sense, right? But guess what? We need both. Here's why. Too much action without reflection leads to burnout. And too much reflection without action leaves us stuck. The healthiest approach is learning when to act and when to receive. So between these two videos, I have covered all 12 universal laws. When you really look at each of these laws together, something beautiful begins to emerge. They're simply not all about manifesting money or love or success. What they truly teach us is becoming more aware, more intentional, more compassionate, more responsible for the choices we make on a daily basis. So whether you believe these laws are spiritual truths or simply meaningful principles for living with purpose, they invite us to become the absolute best version of ourselves. And honestly, that's what this journey is really all about. Before I leave you for the day, please remember this. Your thoughts influence your perspective, and your perspective influences your actions. Your actions influence your habits, and your everyday habits influence your future. Transformation does not happen overnight. It happens through small choices that you make on a daily basis. If you enjoyed this video, I would love to hear from you. Which universal law did you resonate with the most? And which do you want to learn more about? please leave a comment because I honestly, genuinely love hearing from you guys. Again, if you found any value in this video, please like, subscribe, and share it with somebody who you believe may need a little pick-me-up this weekend. Thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate you all endlessly. All the love.